What is going on, guys? It's David from Aqua Otter, and welcome back to another One Piece chapter review. This week we're reviewing chapter 1006, The Honorable Hyogoro the Flower. But before we get into that, I just want to tell everybody, it's been a big week for the channel. We have a new profile picture, a new logo. I'm going to flash it up on the screen now for you guys if you haven't seen it. Shout out to Matt for finding and making that for me. I really appreciate it. Also, we have new socials up and running. They will be down in the description. I have relaunched the Twitter for the channel, and I finally got around to publishing the Facebook page. So if you guys want to find us, the links will be down in the description for that. Make sure to follow if you want any updates on what's going on, any videos that I'm working on, if there's going to be any delays in the videos, just my general thoughts on stuff I'll be posting on there. So yeah, without further ado, we're going to hop right into the chapter. We're going to start talking about the cover page, which I am going to spend a little bit of time on this week. I know I said that I was only going to cover them if it was cover serials, but this is a really, really nice cover spread of the Beast Pirates. You have Kaido right there, dead center in the middle. In front of him, you have his three headliners, King, Queen, and Jack. And then all around them, you've got the Toby Roppo, including Drake. You have Black Maria, Drake, Sasaki, Page 1 and Ulti, and Who's Who. And it's a really, really great color page. I really like all the color schemes for the Toby Roppo. When you're reading in the black and white, it's very easy to forget what they actually look like. But honestly, they all look really great. Kaido looks amazing. The Beast Pirates, I personally think, maybe I'm a little biased because it's what I'm reading right now and it's what I'm talking about a lot, but I really enjoy the Beast Pirates. I think they might be one of my favorite adversarial teams that the Straw Hats have to go up against. So yeah, but great cover spread. If you haven't seen it, definitely go and check it out. I would love for it to be released in a color walk because honestly, it's so nice. I'd love to have that as a poster. But yeah, so we get into the chapter and we have Bao Huang, who is yelling out. She's spotted Yamato and Momo, who are on the run. Of course, from last chapter, they were found out by the Marys. And so they're on the run out of the storage room. And Bao Huang is informing everybody that they've escaped. And she's saying this through all of the Marys. So this is kind of like a downfall. I mean, it's cool that they have this like intelligence agency spread all throughout Onigashima, but this is kind of a downside of the Marys here that we see, and I'll get into it a little bit later. But she actually has to like broadcast it completely around Onigashima, and that's what she's doing right now. She's saying they've escaped. The enemy leader Momonosuke they've emerged from the sealed storeroom. She says, "I don't see Momonosuke, but there can be no doubt Momonosuke is with Yamato." And it's at this point that we see the Marys do something pretty cool that I don't think we've seen them do up until this point. But they actually start to hone in on Yamato, and they can actually, the Marys, they have this like X-ray vision, and Yamato's there. They're just kind of beating the crap out of all of Kaido's forces. But they hone in, and they have this like X-ray, and you can actually see that Momonosuke is clinging to Yamato's back. They do kind of like an X-ray vision thing. And so they confirm it to everybody that Momonosuke is in fact with the Yamato, and Yamato is guiding Shinobu through the crowd, saying, you know, come this way. There's a way that we can go where we'll be away from the crowd. And then the final thing that they broadcast throughout Onigashima is they say that Yamato is with a Kunoichi, of course referring to Shinobu, who is guarding Momo. And so now this is what I mean in this next panel. This is what I mean by the having to broadcast everything all across the island. This is where it kind of ends up biting them in the ass, because the next panel we see Sanji is hearing this. He's hearing the broadcast all throughout the island talking about how Momo is with this Yamato person, and Sanji doesn't know who Yamato is. But so he does put it together that they're going after Momonosuke, so he has a decision to make at this point. And he says, who needs me more? Do the samurai need me more? Or do Momo and Shinobu need me more? And who is this Yamato person? So he thinks on it, and then he does make a decision, and he says, I'm going to go this way. And he just takes off in a direction, and we don't get to find out which way he went. Now, there's two places he could have gone. I want to say that I feel like... I want to preface by saying that I think that any direction that he goes, whether he goes to meet up with Momonosuke and Yamato, or whether he goes to the samurai, which we know that Jack is heading towards the samurai from last chapter, I feel like either way is going to be a good moment for him. I I am leaning more towards him going to the samurai, and that's what I theorize. I think that he is going to go see the samurai still. I think that he trusts that Shinobu is okay, and whoever this Yamato is, he doesn't know who Yamato is, but whoever that Yamato is, I think he can trust that they'll be okay. I think that he wants to go and check on the samurai, and that will lead to him coming into contact with either Toki or Hiyori when he goes there, but he's also going to cross paths with Jack, which is going to kind of set up where Sanji's going to be for the rest of the chapter, kind of just fighting Jack. But so we get a single panel here, which I want to talk about because it shows us kind of where we're at in terms of the fall of Onigashima, this big... I really, honestly, up until this chapter, I kind of had my doubts. I do believe that Act 3 was going to end in tragedy, but if you go back a couple of reviews that I've done, I did make a prediction that the tragedy of Act 3 was going to be that everyone on the rooftop would be defeated. And I thought that that was kind of why we cut away back in chapter 1004 and went back down to what's happening below, you know, with the focusing on the Frankie and the Sasuke fight in chapter 1004, and then eventually the setting up the Black Maria fight in the last chapter. And now here we are in chapter 1006. We get a single panel, and it's Onigashima, and it kind of shows you where Onigashima is in Wano, because we know that Onigashima was just this kind of island off the coast of Wano, but now we can see Onigashima is very, very close to Mount Fuji, which is located in the flower capital. So Kaido has lifted the island, which we all knew was happening, but now I feel definitely like the tragedy is not going to be that we're going to cut back up and Luffy and Zoro and Law and Kid and Killer. I don't think they're going to be defeated. I think the tragedy of Act 3 is going to be the fall of Onigashima. It is going to take out the flower capital. I'm like 90% certain that's going to happen at this point, because you see Onigashima, it's floating up in the sky. You see the tip of Mount Fuji. It's definitely floating right over the flower capital. It may be really high up in the air, but this thing's going to come down. It's going to take out a lot of people. But so next we get to check in with a fight that honestly I totally forgot was happening. I don't know why I forgot it was happening, because honestly it's a super important fight. But when I've been talking about, like, last chapter when I was talking about my predictions of where the chapter is going to go, I was talking about, like, Jinbei versus Who's Who, you know, Frankie versus Sasuke, setting up all these fights. But there's one major fight I totally forgot was happening right now on the island, which was Perospero versus Wanda and Carrot. And we get to check in on this, and unfortunately, Wanda and Carrot are defeated, and you see Perospero. The fight definitely took a lot out of him, because he's huffing, and he says to them, "Oh, what a shame that your powers, your victory should rely on the weather." And he calls them Moonlight Warriors because when we last saw them, they went into their Sulong form to fight him. And I'm pretty sure that's why he's so winded, because the minks in their Sulong forms are really, really dangerous. But you see a panel, you see what is happening with the moon. Their Sulong form is dependent on their line of sight to the moon. And unfortunately, because it's a very cloudy night, the moon is being covered. So they're back in their normal forms, and Perospero was easily able to wipe the floor with him. And I really like these next series of chapters, because Perospero is just such like a classic evil villain. Because the next panel that you see Carrot, who she's been laying there defeated by Perospero, and you see her, she thinks back on what Pedro said back when he sacrificed his life for them so that they could get away back in Whole Cake Island. And he says, "You guys keep moving forward." And Perospero picks up Carrot by her face, and he's using, like, such a small touch here, but I love this. He's grabbing her by the arm, his candy arm that he lost because of Pedro. And he says to her, "Vengeance for Pedro? What did you think would happen when you'd walk into our home and set up a nice little picnic in the territory of the dreaded Big Mom pirates?" And I just, like, there's a bit more to what he says here, but I love this so much, because honestly, it's true. Like, and it's a lot of growth out of Carrot here, I think, because when Carrot stowed away on the Straw Hat ship back at the end of Zoe, moving into the beginning of the Whole Cake Island arc, she is so inexperienced in the world, and she's a little childish and naive. And he's entirely right. Like, that was a very childish mindset. Like, what did the Straw Hats thought, Luffy and Nami, and we all believed, and we wanted to believe, that they could just waltz into Big Mom's territory, pick up Sanji, and get going without any casualties. But of course not. This is a Yonko. There are stakes. They walked in to the absolute dead center of Big Mom's territory, and they lost someone. They lost Pedro, and he takes her now and he throws her to the ground. He throws Carrot to the ground, and he says, if you didn't want to see your friends die, then you should have stayed in the forest and nibbled grass. And it's so good. He's laughing and he says, that's where you belong. You belong in the forest, nibbling grass. You're just an animal. You're nothing compared to me. It gives me like such classic evil villain vibes, this little whole speech. But yeah, obviously after the Sulong form went away, he wiped the floor with him, and he's just sitting there. He's like, he doesn't even find it necessary to finish them off. So then, after he's done all this, he just says what we know about him up to this point, basically, which is that it pains him to work with the Beast Pirates. Perospero is very, very against the Kaido Big Mom alliance, but he says it's time to teach these children what the Emperors of the Sea are all about. And it's like serious time. So we go back to the performance hall at this point, and we kind of get a check-in with what's going on with all the samurai down there that are being affected by Queen's virus. And so when we last saw them, Marco had showed up. Chopper's still plugging away. He's infected. Marco had showed up to help. He basically started spreading his blue flames, his healing flames from his phoenix form, out to all of the samurai. But at this point, we see that the blue flames are they're draining the stamina of the people. The blue flames they're helping, but they're using people's own stamina. And it kind of reminds me a little bit of back in Impel Down, when Luffy was like crazy poisoned and on the verge of death, how Ivankov was able to help him heal, but at the cost of a little bit of his own life, because it drained a lot of his stamina, and it took way more stamina than he had in his body in order to heal himself. But so, yeah, people are starting to lose their stamina, lose their energy, and the blue flames are starting to not be as effective as they were before. And they're starting to kind of revert back into the Ice Oni forms. And you see there's people who are they're fading, and they're saying, I can't go on, I can't hold on any longer. And there are other samurai that are trying to encourage them, like, you have to keep up, you have to keep fighting, don't give up, because if you turn back into an Ice Oni, you'll really use up all your stamina, and then you'll die. And that raccoon dog, referring to Chopper, of course, is working his hardest to get that cure manufactured, that antidote manufactured, so that we can all live. So we have to do our best, we have to keep fighting until he's done. And we get a little check-in here with the Beast Pirates that have been infected and Apu. And they're all saying, like, we can't go on any longer. Apu, what are we going to do? Like, why should we have to fight? The antidote's, like, right there. And Apu says, you know that Queen is not the type of person who will take pity on those who are whining. So you guys better shut up. You just better fight. And they say, oh, but we have to deal with Drake and the legendary Yakuza boss, Hyogoro the Flower. And you see Drake here, he's in his hybrid form, which we've seen before. I really want to see a very good Drake fight in this arc, because I've been super interested in him and his power all the way since we first learned that, that he was the dinosaur zone, the Allosaurus, all the way back in, like, Sabaody. But I noticed this in the last chapter, but I didn't point it out because I wasn't sure and I didn't want to say it and then sound like an idiot. But in this chapter, it is revealed to us in this same panel that we see Drake in his hybrid form. We also see little old man Hyogoro the Flower, and he's back to his normal form, his like giant big form with the flaming hair from back in like the days of Odin. And they even point this out. They're like, why does he look like that? What happened? He was just a little man just a few minutes ago, just this old man. And Hyogoro's there, and he's kind of reacting to this as well. And he's like, this cold, are these shivers of excitement? And all the Yakuza men that are behind him, all the samurai, they're like, boss, are you okay? And he says, I'm very cold. My body is very cold, but I've always had a firm grip on my mind. And he basically says that the Ice Oni virus must have drawn out the latent power that was still within him. It's been so, every last bit of strength that he has from the old days is being drawn out of his body by this virus. And he even states that this is probably burning away whatever is left of his life force, but he's going to use this strength as long as he can to take out as many of their forces as he possibly can. And he yells out, and this is where we kind of get the title of the chapter, and we do shift focus from this a little bit, but the title of the chapter is The Honorable Hyogoro the Flower. So it's very much a chapter kind of focusing on him. And he says here, right after he says that it's using up the very last of my life, but I'm gonna fight no matter what. I'm gonna use the strength, and I'm gonna even the odds for us. I'm gonna cut down as many of their forces as I can. And he says, "Listen to me. If I start to revert into an Ice Oni, you have to strike me down, because if I run wild, I will kill everyone here. If I do not have control over this strength, I will go on a rampage and I will destroy everybody." And so the enemy samurai, the Mimiwarigumi, they hear him say this, and the one guy, the leader, I think his name's Hote, the one with the like blonde curly hair, and he like wears the glasses. I'm pretty sure his name's Hote. But he hears Hyogoro say this, and he's like, "Oh, is that so? Come at me, because I'm sure that your little tricks, all this strength, it's not even gonna measure up to our forces." And this is where Hyogoro pulls out this really badass move. He uses the Flower One Sword style, Flaming Hair of Holy Rage, and he cuts down the Mimiwarigumi who are rushing at him. And he just starts going, at this point, on a rampage. And I cannot wait till the anime catches up to this point, because honestly, this is going to be, like, so badass, this animation. A whole lot of what's been happening from chapter 1000 on, I cannot wait to see in the anime, but this part specifically with this part where he uses that move, that attack, his hair is just completely engulfed in flames, the people are being cut down, and then he just keeps going rampage after rampage. And as he's cutting everybody down, he's reminiscing, and you get kind of this like somber regret from him, where he's talking to Odin, and he says, "There are many days where I regret not going with you, and I wonder what would have happened if I had joined you when you went up and you faced Kaido." And he kind of laments at not going and helping Odin when he was at the peak of his strength. But then the mood completely changes to a hopeful mood. You go straight from his regret at not helping Odin, but he says, "But look at this. Look at what your followers have done." Talking, of course, about the raid and how far they've come. They're succeeding in the face of inevitable odds. And he says, "And I too have gained a most interesting apprentice." And then you see the flashback to Luffy with all the meal ticket tokens from back in the jail where he met Hyo. He says, "I have no doubt that dawn will come to Wano." And at this point, so for this next part, I have to kind of throw my hands up and admit that I was wrong about something in the last chapter. So in the last chapter, when I was talking about the broadcast out of Sanji's plea for Robin to come help him, I specifically said, and I have looked back over it, and I was right at the time, but I am wrong. But I specifically said when I was talking about that part, there was a part where we flashed to Marco fighting King and all the flying Smile Fruit users, and I thought I was really smart, saying, Queen's not there. I've scoured the panel. I've scoured this chapter. You do not see Queen one time, which means that Queen is going somewhere else. He's heading to a different area, so Marco isn't going to be fighting Queen much longer. He's going someplace else. At this point, Queen is still there. It's revealed that Queen's there. He sees what Hyo is doing, and he's like, I gotta put a stop to this. So he starts charging up this pacifista-esque laser, which a lot of people are now theorizing that Queen, because we've seen all these crazy cybernetic things, all these augmentations that Queen is able to do, and now he's got kind of a laser very similar to the pacifistas that Vegapunk created, and he has ties to Germa. People are starting to theorize that we're gonna find out that Queen was part of that rogue science group that was mentioned back in Whole Cake that Judge and Vegapunk were both a part of. So definitely kind of weird. I think there's a lot more to Queen than is being led on. I definitely think that he's going to have some kind of tie to Vegapunk that's going to be revealed at the end of this chapter. But he starts charging up this laser, and he thinks he's going to hit Hyo. But he gets out of nowhere, Phoenix brand, fire up in his face. Marco shows up, and he says, "You were supposed to be fighting me." And then Queen reacts to it, and he's screaming. And Marco says, "You don't even get to think about the samurai until you finished me off." And I really like this panel. He's just got this dead serious look on his face. And then Queen actually does fire off the Pacifista-esque laser at Marco. But Marco completely manages to dodge it. And King comes in at this point and manages to slice off one of Marco's wings. But of course, it's no problem for him. This was Whitebeard's 1st Division commander. What are we expecting here? Expecting great things is what I'm expecting out of Marco. So the wing gets lopped off, and he just manages to land, and he takes that wing that was lopped off, and he brings it back into his finger, right? And it looks like a little phoenix feather, and he starts doing kind of like a Doctor Strange-esque thing where he's channeling the fire that this wing is turning into with this feather, and he starts spinning it, and then he throws it at King. An attack called Bluebird, this giant fireball, hits King. King goes flying, and then Marco, he, from his perch, jumps down into the fire that he just threw at King, because now King has been hit by this Bluebird attack and is being launched, and then right as he's dealing with that, boom, Marco comes in with a big hockeyed up knee, hits King, sends him flying even further. And then we cut back to Queen, who's recovered now from the last attack that he took from Marco. And Queen is now no longer in his Brachiosaur form. He's back into his normal big Queen form. And Marco comes in. He's got his foot transformed into the Phoenix talons, kicks Queen right in the face, sends him flying even further. And Marco then is kind of like pantsing at this point. Like it's clear that he's pushing himself a little bit further than he was expecting to, and he's managing to hold them off really well. But it's very clear that he's starting to feel the effects of this battle. And he even says, he's like, holding off 2 people worth over $1 billion is, it's not as easy as I thought it was going to be. It's pretty rough on me. And he says, Chopper, you better hurry up. And it's at this point that we get a little cut. We get to see Perospero, because he has left. He has left the battlefield, left Wanda and Carrot there, didn't even bother to finish them off. Perospero comes in, and he sees what's going on with all this wreckage. And he goes, "Who's that over there?" And he notices, "Oh, that's Marco. He looks rather exhausted." And so he's plotting something. Who knows what? All I have to say, I don't want to dwell on it too hard. Marco's not dying here. He's not. Because here's the thing. Perospero is vastly underestimating the Minx. And I don't think... Maybe Wanda is, maybe she is. But Carrot is going to get her revenge. She is going to get justice for Pedro. I don't know whether that's going to be... we have someone who's really good with the weather. We have someone who could possibly clear up that moon in Nami. I don't know if that's actually how it's going to happen, but something's going to happen. Carrot's going to be able to go back in Sulong. The fight between Carrot and Perospero is definitely not over. I'm talking about it as if Wanda won't be there. I don't know. I don't want to write Wanda off. I think that Wanda... I don't know if I'll be okay with Carrot herself taking down Perospero, but definitely Carrot and Wanda is something that I can deal with. I think that Carrot and Wanda, in their Sulong forms, being able to take out Perospero, I'm fine with that. But yeah, he's writing the Minx off. They're definitely going to be coming back. And Marco is not going to die here. I don't think that it makes any sense for Marco to be killed off here in Wano by the Beast Pirates or by the Big Mom Pirates. Because if anybody was going to kill Marco and it would make an impact for the story, it's going to be Blackbeard. Or Weevil, Edward Weevil. Those are the only 2 characters that I can see. Well, I guess anybody from Blackbeard's crew, really, but those are the only people I could see that it would make any kind of story sense to actually take down Marco. you know? So we're not writing Marco out here. He's definitely, this isn't the end of him, but Perospero is planning something. So something's going to happen. You know, I don't think Marco's going to get like surprise attacked, killed. He might get hurt a little bit, but he's not going to die here. And then we get to the last page of the chapter. It's everyone's kind of, the virus is now a little bit too overwhelming for everybody. People are starting to transform back into the Ice Onis. They're attacking the comrades, and everyone's freaking out. They're trying to deal with it. And you see one of the mob bosses. He's got his katana raised up, and right down below him, sitting down on the ground, is Hyogoro. And he says, "Do it. I want it to end this way. I feel as though heaven has rewarded me with this final role to play. Any longer, and I will only put everyone in danger." And then we get the final panel. I really like this panel a lot. It's a very simple panel, but there's a lot of emotion packed into it. You see Hyogoro. It's just a close-up on his face. He is almost completely Ice Oni. Both fangs are out. He's almost completely frosted over. He has one of his glasses is not frosted over, and that's pretty much, I believe, like, he's this close to turning into an Ice Oni. And there's no more speech, but there is text on this last panel. It's an inner monologue of Hyogoro, and he says, "I leave the rest in your hands. Here ends the life of Hyogoro the Flower with no regrets." And that's it. That's the end of the chapter. And I don't know if Hyo's going to die. I don't. I feel like Oda might be setting us up here for a big swerve, but it is very effective. And I don't think that people have the same kind of emotion that, like, for this character as I do. I feel like this is a scene that was meant to evoke a lot of emotion out of the fan base, but I don't know if it's going to hit as hard because, you know, Hyogoro's just kind of, he's just kind of the guy that taught Luffy how to use Ryuo. And that was kind of his plot device for the story. That was his role. And I don't want him to die. I think if he died now, it would be okay. I think I'd be all right with it. It definitely would. I don't want him to die and I don't think that he will die because I don't think that that's Oda's style. We all know that Oda doesn't like to kill off characters unless it is absolutely necessary to kill off a character. And do I think that maybe it's necessary to kill off Hyo in this moment? Yes. I think maybe it is. But I think that more likely Oda is setting us up for the next chapter to start with Chopper finishing the cure and being able to cure Hyogoro before he is killed. I kind of feel like that's what this whole chapter was about, was that Chopper really needs to finish up that cure. And we're kind of in crunch time now. He really, really needs to finish the cure. So this is kind of like the stakes are at an all-time high for that cure to be finished now. Hyogoro is about to die. The legendary Yakuza boss is about to die. He's about to get killed. So what a better time for Chopper to swoop in with the cure and save him. But yeah, that's how I feel about that. I liked this chapter a lot. It wasn't as good for me as last chapter. I definitely thought that chapter 1005 was a much stronger chapter than this one was. But it was good. I really, really enjoyed the Marco stuff. I freaking love Marco. It's been so long since I've seen Marco in action that I forgot how absolutely badass he is. Like, crazy pineapple dude. There's also a lot of, like, little things that were dropped all throughout this chapter. Like, that pacifista laser, that opens up so many questions about Queen. Like, how does he have that technology? I thought that was something that Vegapunk developed in his time working for the military. Like, did he steal Vegapunk's research? Or does he have connections to Vegapunk? You know, and, like, this stuff with Perospero and Carrot, like, how is that going to shake out? What is Perospero plotting? I think it was really good in terms of setting us up, and I do definitely have, in my head, at least, a very clear picture of what is going to go on now for the next couple chapters. I've been seeing a lot of people online talk about that they think that, so Act 1 of Wano was 15 chapters, Act 2 was 30. Originally, people believed that Act 3 was going to be 45. We're now past the 45, so now people are theorizing that maybe we have 60 chapters, which would mean we have approximately 12 chapters left. I don't know about that. I don't know if it's going to be a nice even number, like everyone thinks of. Maybe 50 chapters for Act 3, but I definitely think that Act 3 is coming to a, if it is not already coming to a close, it is so close. Like, there is not a whole lot more that we can do to set us up to move into Act 4. You know, in these past 7 chapters, we have set up where Kaido is, where Big Mom is, where all of the supernova are. You know, we know that Kaido and Big Mom are up on the rooftop with Luffy, Law, Kid, and Zoro, and Killer. That fight is pretty much locked in up there. We know that Sanji is heading in a direction. I thoroughly believe that he is heading towards the samurai. So we know where the samurai are. We know the danger of the samurai in Jack. So we know where Jack is going to be going. I think that Sanji is heading towards Jack. We know where Black Maria is, and we know where Robin and Brook are. I feel like that fight is locked in. I'm gonna lock in my prediction that it's definitely going to be Sanji versus Jack. And then Black Maria versus Robin and Brook. More so Robin with Brook supporting. Usopp and Nami versus Page 1 and Ulti with Tama. That's going to keep on going. Frankie and Sasuke locked in. Jinbei and Who's Who locked in. Chopper and Queen, I think that's probably what the next chapter is going to be setting up. I think maybe we're going to get back to Perospero versus Carrot. King and Marco, that's definitely going to be, I think that is going to be that fight locked in, which leaves us with not a whole lot of people. We need to kind of maneuver Yamato and Momonosuke to a more prominent position, but I think that covers all of the Tobiropo. So all the pieces are in place, and we found out in this chapter that we're definitely getting close to the Flower Capital falling, which is going to be the tragedy. Like I said earlier, I'm like 90% sure that's going to be the tragedy now. So yeah, predictions for the next couple chapters. We might check in with Jinbei, might get a little bit of the Jinbei Who's Who fight, maybe a little bit more of a hint as to why Who's Who knows Jinbei, or that Jinbei Who's Who actually is. I don't know. I feel like the virus thing needs to be taken care of before Onigashima falls. So Chopper is definitely, I think probably it's a safe bet to say that Chopper's going to finish the vaccine, the antidote, in the next chapter, which is then going to free him up to maybe take Queen. I'm pretty sure that it's going to be Chopper versus Queen. Take Queen off of Marco's hands. But I really can't see a whole lot more to set us up before moving into Act 4. And I have no clue what's going to be going on in Act 4. Like, literally no predictions besides fights. So, yeah, that's where it's at. And with that, that's all I have to say. That's all I have to say about the chapter. So, thank you guys so much for watching. I just want to reiterate again that we have new social medias now. Everything is linked down in the description. If you liked this video, please consider giving it a like. And if you want to see more from me, please consider subscribing. It honestly means the world to me. I have a lot of stuff coming up that I really want you guys to not miss. So if you guys are just casually checking me out, if you liked me at all, I have some stuff that I would really love for you to see. So go ahead and click that subscribe button so you can stick around and be notified when that stuff comes out. But yeah, until then, that was chapter 1006, and I will see you guys on Sunday with chapter 1007.